Got my gavel. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order for August 12th at 6:30 p.m. of the Edgewood Town Council. First order of business is called to order. Second item, let's do a roll call vote of the people that are here. Councilor Holly, you're here.
Present.
Councilor Abrams, you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Councilor Jaramillo, you're somewhere.
Yes, I am. I don't have internet, so I'm calling in on the phone.
Okay. And Councilor Abraham, where are you at? Gotcha. You're here?
I'm here.
Okay. So we got a full complement tonight. So the first item then is Pledge of Allegiance. Find you a flag. Down that way. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To
of
the
the United
flag
States of America
of,
and to the republic
and
for
to
which
the
it
republic
stands,
for
one
which it
nation,
stands,
under
one
God,
nation, under
indivisible,
God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
Flag of the state of New Mexico.
And you'll see a symbol of united something between people here in this state. We didn't bring that with us. Okay, we're done. Had to wing it a little bit. Okay, So-
United Cult.
first item on the agenda then tonight will be approval of the agenda. And councilors, I don't have any changes to make to it, so I'll entertain a motion on that.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve this evening's agenda.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor say aye, and that better do a roll call. Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
And Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Thank you, council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Where's the agenda?
before we get started on the next agenda item, I'd like to suggest that we mute some of the callers. I'm getting a bunch of feedback. I'm hearing
Agreed.
a
So
bunch of
callers, if you're there listening to us, mute your phones, especially if there's several of you sitting in the same room. Mute the phones until we're ready to hear just from you. Okay, the next item then would be the consent agenda. That consists of council meeting minutes for June 24th, July 2nd, July
Now
17th.
everybody's muted.
What's that? Counselor, did you say something?
Hang on, that's me.
Unmuted.
There,
No, we can't hear the mayor.
there we go. Sorry.
Technical glitch over here, name of one. Are we still muted?
Okay. Hello?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us now?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it's the council meeting minutes for June 24th, July 2nd, July 17th, and the wastewater treatment plant report. I will entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve this evening's consent agenda, adding the, and I know in the packet, the council meeting minutes for
The 17th.
the 17th had been amended.
Mm-hmm.
So I would move we approve the consent agenda with the amended meeting minutes for the 17th.
You got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. Start there, Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
And Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Okay, so tonight, the discussion items, folks, this is what we're after here tonight. This is the first of what will be probably 3 meetings on the issue of our ICIP, our annual ICIP. And for tonight's go around, we'd just like to mainly hear from the public. Let them give us ideas and stuff, and then at the next one, it'll be probably staff and council. And then on the third one, we'll bring it all together and make up our list. So tonight, for the public meeting on the infrastructure capital improvement for the town of Edgewood, I would just like to invite people to step up on the phone there or wherever you're at. Give us your name and give us whatever it is that's on your mind about the infrastructure capital improvements plan.
This is Tom McGill.
Hang on just a second.
Doesn't like it because it's on the phone. It's a phone call.
Okay, Mr. McGill, go ahead.
This is Tom McGill at 12 Buck Road. I think the wastewater collection system, Route 66, was approved by the council some period of time ago, and it's the least expensive. And at one point, there were a number of people who had requests for sewer. I understand that you indicated at some point that there were some issues, but time has passed, and I think you should reconsider that. Thank you very much.
Next.
Cheryl Hubbard. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
We've had people from Opelousas Road in numerous times to the town and to P&Z requesting pavement, and I'd like to see them get a chance at getting some road work done.
Next.
Karen Kaiser.
Who?
I'm sorry, Martha.
That's okay, go ahead.
Karen Kaiser, or
Who's going first?
you go, Martha.
I'm donating my minutes to Jerry Powers.
No, ma'am, this is about the ICIP. This isn't public comment.
Okay, got it. Go ahead, Karen.
I'm Karen Kaiser. I just wanted to request that as a governing body, you focus on paving some roads, because I don't think Horton Road counts. It already had pavement, you tore it up, and then you repaved it. I'm talking about paving roads that don't have pavement. And I hope that you'll also focus on public green space and trails and stop spending money on the sewer expansion. Thank you.
Next.
Okay, this is Bryce Simons. I'm at 27 Hillcrest Road.
Go ahead.
Okay, I've got a couple of comments that I would like to make. One is the fact that I'm not sure that the individual items I'm seeing on the proposed ICIP plan are relevant today. They look like they might be somewhat aged and maybe a couple of years old. So I would be interested in seeing what evolves through these extra meetings. I would like to comment on the road priority list that was issued by the Planning and Zoning. I'm a little concerned about the extreme amount of money that they're recommending for asphalt pavement on a number of roads. There are several in here that are recommending that they be asphalted. I think with the magnitude of the concern and the number of people requesting road improvements in the town of Edgewood, a very, very effective solution that should be applied to begin with would be a chip seal over a good base course. Most of these roads have good base courses, so it wouldn't be hard to put a chip seal on top of that, get a good quality dust-free wearing surface, and they're also better by far in snow and ice conditions. One road that I'm very familiar with is Steeplechase, which is proposed for asphalt, and I think that would be a gross mistake. It's got some steep hills, it's got some sharp bends, asphalt is slick and incredibly expensive. A chip seal would work very, very effectively on that, as it would on other roads. And I think the town would save a lot of money, get a lot more roads done, and then when they get caught up with the majority of the roads that need improvements, then they can look to growing into asphalt those roads, asphalt or concrete on those roads that need it. So I think it would be wise and appropriate to apply chip seal applications to good base course roads. Get that done, satisfy the road needs and the dust control and the access for a lot of people, and then you'll be in good shape to move ahead. That being said, I'd like to comment on the hydrologic report. There's a number of things in that hydrologic report that I think need to be looked at more closely at. Primarily,
Which report is that?
Drainage
the one that's in the
Oh, the
packet,
drainage, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
hydraulic drainage report by
Yeah.
Brian and Houston. To boil a lot of it down, there's a lot of meat in there, but to boil it down, if you take a look at what their recommendations turn out to be, they're recommending that the road elevation be raised anywhere between 2 feet on one of them to as much as 9 feet on 2 of the others, 5 feet on a couple of them, 6 feet on one of them, 3 of them. And if you stop and take a look at what a change in existing elevation to the top of the road is going to be when you lift that thing up by 9 feet, that's going to be huge. You're certainly not going to drive a car over that. In addition, the report comes out specifically and says that the survey, the roadway evaluations were not conducted within the scope of this project. So the report and the estimated projects and the costs associated with those do not even consider what work would be required to rebuild the road profile that would be adequate for safe use of the public. Additionally, there's no information available in that report about what kind of existing profile it is. Is there a dip in the road for a wet crossing where a 9-foot rise would just make that about level with the adjacent sides of the road, or is it a level road to begin with and a 9-foot rise would make that thing a major bridge? I think there needs to be quite a little bit more homework done on these things. I agree with the idea of trying to get these crossings done or the hydrologic adjustments made with the roads that are going to be worked on soonest. But this is not ready for application, and I would encourage more work and design to be done before this is even considered for construction. That pretty much takes care of what I had to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Remember, this is just for the ICIP.
It's Jerry Powers.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
I noticed on the ICIP plan priority that the New Mexico 344 sewer line extension is #1 priority. I believe that the people's priority are road pavings, trails. That's what I've heard from people. The sewer line extension was extremely controversial in its phase 1, and I find it really shocking that this is the #1 priority is another sewer line extension. I talked with Heather Mitchell on the phone tonight, who couldn't be here. She's not feeling well, couldn't call in. But she asked me to convey those remarks that there were 14 or 15 people that live along that extension. This actually goes west on Church and around the Woods End properties, and that all of them, without any exception, were against this sewer line extension. So there's only one property that would benefit from this where it seems to be wanted, which is the Bassett family property between Church and I-40.
That already has sewer.
I'm sorry, sir, I was making a public comment.
Go ahead.
So there was only one property that could possibly benefit from this. Nobody else up there wants it. And I believe this is why the commission manager form of government petition was circulated, because the people have different priorities. They want their roads paved. They want the millions of dollars that it would take to do another sewer line extension, not to go into neighborhoods where people don't want it, but to pave roads where they do. Those are my comments.
Okay, who's next?
Linda Burke.
Go ahead.
this is a small item, and I'm not sure it's infrastructure or not, but I'll mention it, is the directional signage to help people, wayfinding signage throughout Edgewood to help direct people to our local businesses, hotel, etc., to make Edgewood a more travel-friendly location for those people who do get off the freeway, and help them find our businesses so they can be spending money in Edgewood.
Next. Anybody else have any comments for ICIP? Okay, seeing none, then let's move along here.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Is it related to ICIP?
It absolutely is, yes.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
This looks like last year's list.
It
Can
is.
you tell me if any of these things have received funding, and if so, how much? Or is that the updated amounts on here?
No, that's last year's. We had it. He read that 344 sewer line extension is number 2. It's actually number 1. It's actually number 2. But this was just to show you what last year's list looked like. That was just to start conversation. There's nothing here that's locked into concrete anywhere. As far as which ones have had money spent on them, I guess the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, there's money going there. The motor grader didn't, well, it got passed, and then that's one of the ones that got frozen. Church Street, same thing.
Can I just request that we put an updated list in for next time to see what has been funded, what is frozen, where we're at on some of these things? Because this is the same kind of thing we got last year, was a list that was outdated that didn't make any sense.
Well,
When
that's
we
how
get
you
ready-
start the process, is with last year's list.
Right, but I think we could take last year's list and maybe say how much has been funded to date. I think we could change that column, and it would help us know, are we looking for $800,000 or $8 million? And I think it would help the community see where we have received funding and where maybe we still need a massive amount of funding. I just think to have the funded to date column filled in with current date data would be real helpful for me.
All right.
And so that's
We'll see what we can do for you.
All right, thank you.
So if that's all the public wishes to speak on ICIP, let's move along to the next one. This one will be public comment. And on this one here, I need your names so we can put them down and then call you out. So who goes first?
Tom McGill.
Who wants to go next?
This is Jerry Powers.
Anybody
Cheryl
else?
Hubbard. Cheryl Hubbard.
Yeah.
Got it. Anybody else?
Martha Eden. Donating my minutes to Jerry Powers.
Anybody else?
Karen
Yeah.
Kaiser. I'd like to donate my 2 minutes to either Tom McGill or Jerry Powers if they need them. Thank you.
Anybody else?
What? Yes.
What's your name?
This is Ray Siggers, Your Honor. And I would like to devote my time to either Tom McGill or Jerry Powers if they are needed.
Anybody else? Okay, so we'll start then with Tom McGill. Go ahead, Mr. McGill.
Thank you, sir. This is Tom McGill at 12 Buck Road. We saw the waste report in the packet, I have a couple of observations. The first one is that there seems to be an absolute commitment not to put this material on the town site. I do get it from NMED, but I think that causes unnecessary problems for NMED and for me to try to get it that way. I look at the lab results. I see that they're very volatile still after all this time. I noticed that, I think it's Alan Hall, seems to be a very capable operator, but I would like to point out the difference between an operator and an actual project manager. Alan Hall, if that's his
Larry
name, is Larry. I'm so sorry, I get those confused. Larry Hall is doing a good job and conscientious, considering he's not here, which is a considerable disadvantage, in getting it under control. But when I look at the results, I see that there's still a fundamental problem that's being masked by adding chlorine or sodium hypochlorite into the system. What that's doing is disguising the fact that the membranes probably still have leaks in them. It creates a problem. It does get rid of the coliforms to some extent, not completely so far, but in disguising the fact that the plant is not operating properly, what is an auxiliary disinfecting device becomes your primary disinfecting device, and you don't have backup, in my opinion. It also throws, by putting the chlorine in there, it also throws the BOD, biological oxygen demand, out of kilter as well, creates a corrosion process. So this is what an operator does and does well. He gets it within where you want to go, but you need a manager to start looking at the big picture and trying to resolve the fundamental problems. He says that he has replaced all of the membranes. I think that's a good thing to do. He needs to figure out if there are defects, and I don't see where replacement membranes have been ordered. If they have, that's fine, but when you realize that a broken membrane creates a contamination problem, you cannot wait, I don't think, for the purchasing process to be ready to replace that membrane. That includes, by the way, all of the other asset management items that have been identified back in 2015 to keep the plant operating. So you need the spares. And I also want to point out that in the last month, reported June, that they still dumped 2 3/4 million gallons of contaminated fluid out on the land. I understand in the last meeting, the town clerk said that they have approval for an alternate disposal system. And I look, and the rate is not excessive if they worked 24 hours a day. However, I just think that the governing body needs to be more curious and ask questions. Something should tell you that are we okay dumping 2 3/4 million gallons in 1 month of what we know is contaminated material out on flat land? That system was designed for reuse. It was designed to grow crops and so on, and there are other limitations besides the gallons per minute you're allowed to dump. Those limitations include wind and moisture and all sorts of things, and I suspect that that's not being considered. I think they turn it on at night and let it go. But I guess my main concerns are that I think you're risking the charge of not being on top of this if you don't publish the data on a regular basis. I would prefer monthly for sure, and you should not wait at least a month and a half after the quarter to report the quarter and still not report the quarter. And I think that I really think that the governing body needs to develop some curiosity, and I would point out that there's not one person in my observation, there's not one person in the entire town structure who has the credentials or the knowledge to be responsible for that waste plant. That's what a town administrator is supposed to be, as defined in Ordinance 2015-03. and we don't have one, and there's absolutely no one in that office who will take responsibility when you walk in there and say, who is responsible for this? Thank you very, very much.
Okay, next person up then is Jerry Powers.
This is Jerry Powers. I want to agree with Tom McGill on needing to post the results. It would be appropriate to post those. They were being posted monthly up until about October of last year, when the fecal coliform levels exceeded the legal limits by about 1,000 times. I find it disturbing that it was 8 months later since we've had a legal limit report from the new operator, and 8 months of operating outside of legal limits is, in my experience, extremely rare, and should be more rare than that. So I think reporting to the council every month, as you all were last year, would be an appropriate thing to do. We have information that we input in correspondence from Carla, the deputy clerk, to I believe it's Michelle Hunter with the New Mexico Environment Department, promising to put those on the website. To put them on 3 months or 4 months later after the fact seems like, in an urgent situation, is not sufficient reporting. So I want to agree with Mr. McGill that I believe those should be posted monthly, and that way the council could look at the numbers, and if it's still out of control, they could discuss it, do something about it. The other thing is, I've noticed that Mr. Hall is out of Utah, and to have an absentee operator for a sewer plant may be part of the problem of getting all this under control. I noticed in the independent newspaper that the Harris has selected a new wastewater operator who are local. It's Prodigy Builders Company out of Albuquerque. And it just seems like something you might want to look into, to have a local operator that could be on site in such a complex system and managing it. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person up is Cheryl Hupperts.
Yes, I'd like to thank the governing body for giving our town employees a long overdue raise during the July 29th budget meeting. And I would also like to thank them for the support that you gave the police department by supplying them with the equipment they needed. And the mayor's done an excellent job when he came to the office by beefing up the police department from 5 to 11 police, and it shows his support for the police. I was surprised that Councilor Audrey Jaramillo stated in the budget meeting that she supported the blue, yet at the special council meeting to hire a new police chief, she voted no. She did not state that she was specifically against hiring Daryl Sanchez, but the town could not afford to hire a police chief. I find it unconscionable that Councilors Jaramillo and Councilor Abraham voted against the hiring of a new police chief, against the hiring of the head of a road department, against the bookkeeper. These are all positions the town cannot do without. Roads are always the most talked about subject, and for Councilor Jaramillo, audits are important. So how could we do without a bookkeeper? The town clearly has enough money to hire these positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I believe that's it. The minutes were donated to Jerry Powers for the rest of you. So is there anybody else who didn't ask to sign up? Mr. Torres, you've got something?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I had a letter emailed in to me from Joseph Campbell, and I'll read it to you. Mr. Mayor and Council members, please accept this letter as public comment at the upcoming August 12th, 2020 Town Council meeting. I respectfully request that this letter be made part of the public record of August 12th, 2020 Town Council meeting, and that it be read into the record. I, Joseph Campbell, have been a resident of Edgewood since July 1999. I've had my office in Edgewood for the past 10 years and have spoken at Town Council meetings only when I believed it has been absolutely necessary. I strongly believe that necessity has risen again. I have read both the letter from Ron Van Amberg, who I personally know, have worked with and respect, and the letter from Adrian Terry. Unlike both of them, however, I write this letter on my behalf and my concern for our Edgewood residents. Recently, there has been discussion and information put out to the public that if the town of Edgewood adopts a commission manager form of government, the people of Edgewood will still be able to vote for all 5 commissioners in an open election. Also has been stated that the town will not have to be districted. These statements are simply untrue, and here's why. Excuse me. First, let me say that I agree with both Mr. Van Amberg and Mr. Terry that NMSA 3.14.6 controls the issue of districting under commission manager form of government. The language of NMSA 3.14.6a is very clear, stating the governing body of the municipality organizing under the commission manager form of government shall district the municipality into 5 commissioner districts. This is unequivocal. If the commission manager form of government is adopted, the town must be divided into districts. I also agree with Mr. Terry that Edgewood is not a charter municipality with municipal home rule. That means that the requirements of NMSA 3.14.6a apply, and Edgewood will need to be divided into 5 districts if the commission manager form of government is adopted. I disagree with Mr. Van Amberg and Mr. Terry that all town residents will be able to vote for all town commissioners. Mr. Van Amberg and Mr. Terry based their opinion on the interpretation of the last sentence of NMSA 3.14.6a. That sentence reads as follows. For all municipalities having a population in excess of 10,000, a commissioner shall reside in and be elected from each district, provided that the governing body of the municipality having a population of 10,000 or less may provide for single-member districts as provided in this section. Excuse me. Both Mr. Van Amberg and Mr. Terry have interpreted this section to state that this allows for an open election of all 5 commissioners by all town members. I disagree with this interpretation. The rule for statutory construction, how laws are interpreted, is plain in the language of the statute. Since the above stated sentence is centered on the requirement that commissioners reside in and be elected from their district, the part of that sentence dealing with municipalities is less than 10,000 residents also deals with the residency requirement. Simply stated, what this sentence then says is, in municipalities less than 10,000 residents, a commissioner need not reside in the district for which he is elected. Compared to how the above listed language with the language of NMSA 3.12.1.1, wherein the language dealing with the population of less than 10,000 residents is applied to the issue related to the size of the boundary of the districts, NMSA 3.12-1.1 states, such districts shall be compact and contiguous and composed of a population as nearly equal as practicable, provided that the governing body of H-class counties and a municipality having a population of 10,000 or less may provide for single-member districts as provided in this section. Clearly, the language in NMSA 3.12-1.1 deals with the actual requirement of having a single-member district, whereas NMSA 3.14-6a applies to the residency requirement of a single-member district. The reasoning for this distinction is obvious. In municipalities with 10,000 residents, it may occur that an individual district has no one that runs to represent it, in which case, rather than having a vacancy in a non-district town resident is allowed to run for any district position. Thus, NMSA 3.14.6a does not allow for an open election under the commission manager form of government. Once the town is divided into 5 districts, of each district will be required to vote for the candidates of their district only. There will be no requirement that the candidate, however, reside in the district that they are attempting to represent. But you don't need to accept my opinion on this matter because the New Mexico Attorney General's office has issued a formal opinion on July 29, 2020. The New Mexico Attorney General has concluded, as part of the transition, the current governing body will be tasked with preparing the formation and operation of a commission manager form of government, including districting of the town and the election of commissioners out of the 5 separate commission districts. Additionally, I am concerned with the commission manager form of government as it relates to NMSA 3.14-17, which deals with the issue of petitions and referendums. Although this sounds like a good idea and an active way to participate in government, we need only look to California to see what a quagmire this provision truly becomes. Every vote and action taken by the commission can be challenged. If 20% of the registered voters sign a petition, they can cause a special election and place the issue on the ballot. 1, as we see from the upcoming special election, they are not cheap. 2, the proposed ballot issue will need to be reviewed and approved by legal counsel, which again is not cheap. 3, the results of those elections and ordinances can be challenged in court as to their legality. Again, not cheap. I am in favor of increased participation in our government and wish we had more participation in our electoral process, but as a resident of Edgewood, a business owner that pays gross receipts taxes, and a concerned citizen, not to mention a lawyer, I have real concerns that will transpire if a commission manager form of government is put into place to handle a single issue that can and should be addressed through other means. If I can be any further assistance, or you would like to address, or like me to address the council in person, please contact my office and I will be happy to appear at the August 12th Town Council meeting. Respectfully, Joseph E. Campbell.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk who didn't sign up to begin with? Okay, seeing none, let's move along. That brings us to matters from the councilors. First up is Councilor John Abrams. Go ahead, Councilor.
Well, I don't have a whole lot, actually. This has been a very, very, very busy week for me getting prepared for not only this meeting, but the beginning of the online college school year, which begins Monday. It's been an interesting summer with all kinds of very interesting back and forth in our community. I look forward to the opportunity to talk a little bit more about projects for the ICIP, and we'll have to see what projects actually get on our new list. Some of the things that were there may need to be moved around a little bit, and we'll see what happens. I've noticed over this the summer and in the past few weeks particularly that it is a very dicey and somewhat dangerous thing to do to ride your bicycle around Edgewood. Some of you may or may not have seen me pedaling around, and it's really good exercise, and I've been putting on quite a few miles. However, there are some folks who are, I guess, they don't see bicycles, or maybe they don't realize there's a thing called Share the Road. Regardless, having to ride off into the bar ditch is not exactly my idea of a fun time. As you all know, my pet peeve is that we don't have trails alongside our roads. We have somewhat, horse paths along the side of some roads. We do have a gravel path on 344 for a couple miles. We do have a few asphalt paths on 344 and 333, but beyond that, you're on your own. And if you happen to be on the wrong side of the road at the right time, you're going to be diving for the ditch. So I would really, really, really like to reiterate, I'd like to see some things happen there. I would like to commend our Planning and Zoning Commission for bringing forward the road pavement plans. I'm going to ask one more time, I'm going to continue asking, that we get some road design plans as well. I know that might not be completely in the purview of P&Z, but if there's anything we can do to help to move that idea along so that we have some road designs that we can begin to use in the future, that would be great. Going through the drainage and crossing analysis, I too, along with Mr. Simons, have some questions about it, and I'm going to spend some quality time digging through it in the next few weeks, looking at both physically driving to or riding to or pedaling to the crossings and checking things out. I have seen what a 50-year event looks like. And I've also seen some roads get washed over. So I'm not sure if we're ready for this or not, and where we might begin. All of these locations have their issues, some worse than others. And of course, with thunderstorms the way they are, one spot might get buried and another spot might be completely dry in the same storm. So we're going to have to take a long, hard look at this. And I can't remember what the total was, but I added all the projects up and it was multi-million-dollar. I don't really have a whole lot else to go over on tonight's thing. I'm just going to pass along and say thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next up is Counselor Sherry Abraham.
Thank you, Mayor. I did spend some time this afternoon talking to Roger Holden about his ICIP request list and some things that I know we need to get funded. And so that was my major question about, you know, what has been funded, what isn't going to get funded, what do we still need to get funded, and some stuff like that. So that's my main thing, is that, you know, I think we need to have a really effective, efficient list to move forward to the next part of the ICIP discussion. The other thing is I would just request that all people go out there and vote one way or another. You know, this change will affect you one way or the other, so just get out there and vote. And that's really all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Counselor. Next on the list, Audrey Jaramillo. Counselor, are you there?
Okay. Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just had to take my phone off mute. So just a few things. Wanted to let you guys know that I am continuing to explore information on water treatment for the concerns of the community, as far as a public-private partnership possibility for the town. I still feel it's very important to address the main concern here and not pay for a system that's already serving us twice, and rather put that money toward water treatment, which is, I think, would be a win-win for everyone. I wanted to check with you all, since the last meeting you were going to meet with the county and talk about the equestrian center and the open space, and just wondering if you were able to reach someone at the county.
We were, and we will.
So you were able to meet with them?
No, that's coming, but we were able to finally get a hold of somebody.
Okay. So I did want to request to be part of that meeting, Mayor, if you could consider that for me. I know we can't have a quorum, but I would like to be part of that to help facilitate the open space collaboration with the county. And also wanted to request that it's added to the next agenda. Next, we have the special election, of course, and just wanted to request, Mayor, that you all do everything you can to keep the costs down. I sent an email, I can't remember which day it was, maybe last week, when I started hearing rumblings about a site there at Town Hall, and just again asking for communication. So if Mayor, you and the clerk could keep the governing body informed of what's happening, that would be great. I really don't like relying on social media for the facts, so I'd rather hear from you. And I did not, I didn't understand where this request came from, because it wasn't in our resolution or proclamation of the county. I mean, it was never brought to us as far as that we were going to have, it wasn't advertised that we were going to have this site. And I'm glad that we have the, opportunity for people to have service here from the county. That's not a problem. It's just, seems like it was done very last minute. So where did that come from?
Mayor, Council.
Are you there, Mayor?
If I
I'm
may.
here.
So, Mayor, Council, that came from Santa Fe County. Santa Fe County, that's their election, they're handling it. They called, I want to say last Thursday, said that they're probably going to be having some people out here, but they're trying to get them hired, have a precinct board. That does call out in state law that they have to be able to provide, within 22 days, be able to provide a provisional ballot or replacement ballot. And I believe the county clerk, in order to be more convenient for our residents, was going to set it up here at Town Hall versus having everyone drive to Santa Fe to get replacements or provisionals. But that's completely on the county. I mean, it's not something we requested. We didn't ask for it, but it's the county's election. They're handling it, and they're, it's, like I said, it's out of our hands. I mean, I agree with you. We shouldn't have costs. Keep the costs low, but we're responsible for the election, and if the county clerk's office decides to do that, that is, it's their call. We don't have a say in the matter.
I had the same questions.
Right.
It's up to the county clerk. She's running the thing. That's what she does.
Uh-huh. Right. Isn't there something that we were supposed to approve payment to them ahead of time?
So there was two things that are supposed to happen, Mayor, Council, or two things that could happen. One is the governing body enter into an MOU with the county for payment, or two, we issue basically something in writing that we've worked out an arrangement with the vendor to pay for the election, and that's the option we took. Instead of doing an MOU, we reached out to AES, issued a PO to them, and we're going to pay the cost of the ballots, the mailings to them, and then also whatever charges the county will have, we'll also have to cover those.
And did they ever ask our opinion?
No, I
No,
don't think we have an opinion. Someone asked for an election, we've got to pay for it.
That's how it works.
Yeah, so I was just curious if the county can compel us to, commit town funds for something without any prior notice or running it by us, or wasn't advertised that way.
I think
None of the communication that came out was...
Counselor, I think we're the ones that committed to this, so they're doing what the state law calls for.
No, I'm talking about the cost for town hall.
I don't know what those costs are. I don't think we're charging them anything, are we?
No, I'm talking about if the county and this vendor that you're talking about, if we have to pay them. That wasn't something that was run by us in the entire process.
Well, we knew going into this that the county would be running the election, and whatever they had to do to run it as they see fit, that's what we would have to pay for.
Okay. So that's interesting that they can compel us to use town funds without asking. Okay. Well, just moving on from that part then, I guess it's something I'll check into.
I'm way confused. The county is responsible for the election.
Let's don't crosstalk. Go ahead, Councilor Jaramillo. Wrap it up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. It does, it's just, yes, we all understand the county is responsible for the election. However, there are certain things that have to be collaborated between the two entities. And part of that is the proclamation and the resolution that we passed, the advertising that we did, the information that we put out to the public. Who knows, maybe even the budget that we put together in June based on all of this information that we thought was going to happen, right? So I just don't appreciate another governmental entity coming in and without even asking permission to spend the town's money is spending the town's money. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's my point on that. Moving on from there, I did want to respond to Ms. Hubbard's. I did hear that she had, gone specifically to my family and to other people to try to, convince them that I'm doing something wrong. And I don't know, for some reason, just trying to pit me against the mayor for some reason. I don't know. I wouldn't never go to her family and do that. So I didn't understand that. But as far as process and procedure, it's really important as governing body members that we uphold the resolutions, the ordinances, the policies and procedures of the town. And of course, I made it very clear, and I think Councilor Abraham did as well, that our concerns were more about what a previous governing body had already approved as far as pay rates and the policy. Those not being followed gave us concern for voting to the affirmative on that. It was not in, as far as I can speak for myself, not a personal thing at all. And of course, we know that the people would have been hired when the items were, brought into compliance. So, as an elected official, what you'd refer to as the rule of law, or, just having that check on administration to make sure that everything is being done correctly is really important. I mean, we all have checks and balances, and that's part of our role on the governing body. And I take that very seriously. I mean, it is townspeople's money, and we need to follow the rules. And so, of course, it wasn't coming from a place of, that we don't want police or something. That's just completely the wrong angle to take it. And lastly, health order. I did notice that the public health order does not include for public elected officials and employees. So thank you, Juan, for asking council if they wanted to start meeting back in person, because we are able to do that. And I understand that we don't have the majority to do that, so that's fine. I'm glad that we, at least checked on it. And as well, Juan did tell me that the employees are all back to normal hours and normal time in the office, right?
Pretty much.
Is it the same as before COVID, or are there changes?
No, but COVID just it plays hell some days with people's schedule and stuff, and you can't, it's not every day is going to be just exactly the same. Some days they got to do something, or, something pulls them away. So it's pretty much, but not entirely.
Okay, so we do have our staff at town hall is the bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. So we should be, effective as far as serving the community and all of that. That's great. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Holly.
Okay, I would like to thank the public, all of those who offered input and suggestions for the infrastructure capital improvement plan. Thank you for taking the time to think about that and calling in to express your wishes. And we'll have 2 more opportunities to do that before it's time for us to prioritize our list. So continue coming with your suggestions, please. And the only other thing I wanted to remind folks of is of the free community dumpsters that'll be available the last Saturday of this month, August 29th, out at Venus Park. I heard the response to the opportunity to get rid of your junk was overwhelming in July. So go ahead and spread the word, and we'll continue to make that available to you again this month and also in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next item up then is matters from the clerk treasurer, Mr. Torres.
Yes, Mayor Council, so just going to report. So we had some July 27th, we were notified by DFA that there was going to be an application process for CARES Act relief funds for local governments. And there was two parts to that. So one, local governments could request, you want to call it reimbursement for necessary expenditures due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus COVID-19. And then the other one was for the business community. And it was actually for New Mexico Small Business Continuity Funds. So the town granted, this was August 27th, so we were right in the middle of budget, and it was due on August 7th. So we kind of had to scramble to go through. We've kind of put together all the costs that we've incurred so far with purchasing the masks, getting the supplies out, the hand sanitizer, the disinfectant, everything that we've incurred so far, just trying to switch the library over to online, the stuff for the meetings. And this also is going to basically from March 1st, 2020 to December 30th, 2020, so we had to project what we were going to spend in addition to. So we requested about $70,000 was the request for what we've incurred so far, plus what we anticipate incurring throughout the year. And we submitted that to DFA. Let's see, so it was mainly for stuff that wasn't accounted for in the budget. And as you know, I mean, none of this was incurred in the budget, and our current budget is essentially last year's budget with some minor tweaks. And then it's a broad range, but it's not, revenue replacement isn't permissible use. And of course, we haven't lost anything yet to date, so we didn't put anything in there. It was just for what we've spent and what we anticipate spending for anything COVID-19 related. With respect to the business continuity, so we did work with Santa Fe County. So instead of us trying to do an application, City of Santa Fe County, we're all collaborating together on that one. Santa Fe County's taking the lead, so they're applying for $8 million. We're going to be working with both of them to ensure that if the funding is awarded, it'll be awarded to small business entities within the boundaries of Santa Fe County. We're going to have a role in that as well. Local businesses will be able to apply for up to $25,000 in grant funds. The grants must be spent on money on non-owner employee payroll, rent, scheduled mortgage payments, insurance, must spend it on, non-owner employee payroll, rent, scheduled mortgage payments, insurance, utilities, marketing, also anything for PPE for the employees, anything to do with COVID-19. And so it was a very short turnaround time frame for this. Santa Fe County kind of took the lead, and we're going to be working with them throughout this whole process. As soon as we find out if their application was approved, we'll get all that information put onto our website and let all the local business community know that, hey, this funding's available, this grant funding's available, please get your applications in. So that way Edgewood's, represented. And those are the two things I have.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. In matters from the mayor, I don't have a whole lot tonight. I would make everybody aware that I want to wish a hearty farewell to our friend Chief Ron Crow. Tomorrow is his last day. He will be given a last call by dispatch, and I'm told that the truck is packed, and when he's done with that, he's going to hit the on-ramp headed east and head to Tennessee. So I, on behalf of everybody, want to just remind, that Chief Crow's been a terrific asset, and we're going to miss him. But we got our new chief, Darrell Sanchez, here, and I think we can all wish him good luck with taking over that department and hope that everything keeps going good over there. So that's what I've got for tonight. That moves us along then to the next item, action items. Discussion, consideration, action on changes to personnel policy for the town of Edgewood. Councilor Abraham, you had sent in some suggested changes to text. We've found, I've underlined most, or you had them underlined, I've had them switch that from whatever it was there, human resources to clerk treasurer. 14, yeah. And those were the changes we identified the easiest there. You had a number of questions. I think most of that's research stuff that you can look up. But anyway, these are changes that get rid of the Human Resources Department and make it more like it is with clerk treasurer. And you have any comments on that, Councilor Abraham?
I just want to say thank you. This has been a real bone of contention for me, that we had a personnel policy that we weren't following. So I do appreciate that we've brought it into compliance with what we're doing, with what we plan to do in the future. And especially now that we have budgeted for a salary study, and that can be brought forth to council for approval in the near future. The other thing it had in here, what talked about evaluations, performance evaluations, and a report about those being brought to council the first meeting in July of every year. And so I know we've never gotten one of those, but I would just like to in the future request that we do that. I mean, let us know.
I think, Counselor, that was the plan, but this stupid COVID stuff hit right in there when they were about to start in on that, and it kind of screwed everything up. But yeah, I think that was the plan, to work on getting those employee evaluations, and then, like it says, bring it forward to council to share there in July.
Do we have a time frame for that possibly, now that things are getting back to normal in the office?
Yes, Mayor, Council. So one of the things that we're in the process of implementing that COVID threw a monkey wrench in was just creating quarterly performance evaluations, because annual ones just don't seem to make sense. I mean, you're telling an employee what they did a year ago, giving them expectations, and then not to give them follow-up. So we wanted to try and implement quarterly, see how that worked, and get the feedback from that. So we didn't do them this last quarter, essentially since COVID. We kind of put that off. Now that everyone's back, we're going to try and get that going again. But that's our intent, is to start doing it quarterly, so it's a more meaningful evaluation. The employees can get that feedback right away. And then the other thing we're trying to do with those is also have the employees, and the supervisors go over their actual job descriptions too. So if there's duties they're doing, because I know in all the job descriptions we always have the clause "and other duties as assigned," which is good for one or two things. But if it becomes like an everyday task, then let's just make that part of their job description. So we've been evaluating that, and so next time we have them, we'll I'll bring forth a report and just kind of let you know how that process is going. And if it works out really well, we actually would then bring it forth and have you guys request that we change it in the policy to quarterly. But at least the annuals are being done. Just want to make sure that we want to test out the quarterly thing and get the feedback from the employees. The other thing we're also going to try, which isn't in policy, is having the employees evaluate their supervisors, just to help the supervisors learn where can they improve themselves as supervisors. Are they not communicating effectively? Because a lot of times, with the police department, road department, things of that nature, I mean, we're here in this building, they're in different buildings, and I think that feedback would be good for us as well, just to see what can we do to help the communication within the department, make sure that the department's meshing together well. And so that's one tool that we kind of have been trying to figure out how to implement and get that, so we have that feedback, so we can actually move forward and hopefully progress the town, and increase efficiency and make sure employees know what the expectations are of them. Because if you have something and then you don't review it for a year, okay, great, I'm just going to focus on this, and then I might slip on some other things. I think that's going to be the way we're still trying to lean towards. But yeah, as soon as we get them done, we'll give you guys a report.
Okay, well, my concern is, I know, when I worked in the job force, we had monthly meetings with our supervisors, that they checked in with us monthly and you let us know how we were doing. We let them know what concerns we had, stuff like that. Quarterly is fine, but I would just like the annual ones done. So, you can do them quarterly if you feel like that's, what's best for the employees and the supervisors. But, the other part of that is, you know, I don't want you to overburden them with reporting when they have plenty of other things to do. I mean, an annual report to the council would be plenty. I think, you know, whatever you do internally to help improve your process is fine, but I don't think that council necessarily needs quarterly reports on how employees are doing. I think annual is plenty.
Okay.
So,
We'll work on getting that. If anybody else have any
All right.
discussion on this? Any other counselors? If not, I'll entertain a
Mayor,
motion. Go ahead.
This is Counselor Hadamio.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to agree with the concept of quarterly evaluations and then also upward evaluations for the employees to evaluate their supervisors. I think that is very, very important to have prompt feedback so that people can you know, make changes and adjust and grow in their professions. And so I think that that's important, and I know that that's been the intention for a while. I would just encourage you maybe to set some deadlines and make it a priority. So that's all I have.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the changes as noted in the personnel policy.
Got a second?
Second.
I'll
Motion-
second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the changes that have been made to this latest round of the personnel policy for the town of Edgewood. We'll do a roll call vote. Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
And Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item is calendar review. So the special election, as mentioned, is ongoing until August 24th. Our next regular meeting will be August 26th. Cleanup day and the free dumpsters that Councilor Holly mentioned will be here on the 29th, last Saturday. And the town hall and other town facilities will be closed for Labor Day holiday, September 7th. That's it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
And Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Thank you, Council.